of any generation. Elio Villafranca is a Grammy-nominated pianist, decorated international touring artist, Guggenheim recipient, and about 4,000 other things that I'll get to read to you about later tonight. And today we have a lecture about Afro-Caribbean music and other things that he's going to share with you. At 2 o'clock, he'll be discussing piano technique with some of our piano students, so we'd love for you to come back for that. And then at 7:30 tonight on this stage, we have a featured performance with the master. So please welcome Elio Villafranca. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. You should kind of come closer.
Yeah.
There's no point. Thank you. Thank you for coming. You guys are pianists. What do you do?
I'm just graduated, but I study music history.
Nice. You said.
I'm a professor of Spanish and Caribbean Studies.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
I'm a student of Dr. Herzog's at the guitar. I teach percussion here.
Beautiful.
I study art history in the graduate program here, but appreciator of music and just having a lovely afternoon and excited to be here.
Well, thank you. I am, like Hassan mentioned, Jake, my name is Elio. I started painting, I did guitar, then percussion, then piano, and then composition. I mean, all of those things. I was born and raised in Cuba, in a very small town called San Luis, in the like western part of the island, but southwest. It's like more like the west, but it's kind of tip down. It's a very small town, it's a tobacco town, not much activity there. And so I spent most of my childhood there until I moved into Havana to pursue a career as a musician, and then eventually until I migrated to the United States in like about 1995 to become a jazz musician. The talk, thank you first for coming. The talk that I wanted to do today is more like a share a little bit of my background as an artist and my background growing up in Cuba, what it was for me to growing up in Cuba, and then all these other things about Afro-Caribbean music. And the reason why sometimes I emphasize in the Afro-Caribbean music is because sometimes it's overlooked how important it is in the foundation of the fabric of American music, of the American jazz, per se, the jazz industry. So, first I'm gonna start with my hometown. My hometown, as I mentioned, was called San Luis. There's not a lot of things going on there. As a matter of fact, when you go to Cuba, you're not going to hear a lot about San Luis because it's not a touristic. There's not a touristic attraction. You hear more about Havana, you hear more about Santiago, and you hear more about Varadero or Matanzas. Because in Matanzas, that's where the most greatest beaches there are in Cuba. And then in Havana, because it's such a cosmopolitan city, it's like everything happens in Havana. And Santiago is also it's very cosmopolitan city, but it's also very rich in culture, like very rich in what we call the tradition of comparsas, congas, someone. The someone tuno came from that region, so it has a lot of things to say, right? But San Luis is different. San Luis, once again, it was more like a tobacco town. The most famous thing that comes out of the San Luis is just like Cohiba cigars. That's very famous Cuban cigars because it's just basically done in my hometown. But to me, what was really important about my town was the tradition of Congolese music. It's very heavy on Congolese music, and specifically in a tradition it's called tamborjuka. Tamborjuka is a particular form of drum within the Congolese tradition that is secular, it's not religious. And the reason why this is relevant is because since this drum is not religious, it can be played in any festivity. And talking about during the beginning, during the transatlantic slave trade, like, like 15 something. When they start bringing people to America, of course they were bringing Africans, and then they would come without drums, so they had to recreate their culture as time went by, right? So and there's many different forms of religions that came from Africa to Cuba. We have Santeria, which we're going to be talking about it here later, and Santeria is highly religious, very religious, of course. For you to play the drums, you have to be also initiated in the religion, and for drums to be participating in a religious ceremony, had to also be initiated, had to have what we call it aña, has to have something, the spirit has to be inside the drum. And you see many bata drums, they call bata drums, you see many bata drums. Some of them are, like I use bata drums in my ensemble sometimes, but those ones that I use are not religious, they don't have aña. So the ones that have aña can be out after 9 p.m., had to be in a special room, had to be fed, had to be covered, and then they bring it out in the ceremony, and it can only be played by someone who can play it, who has also received that spirit in that person. I did not grow up in that religion. I grew up more in the Congolese traditions. The Congolese tradition, like I said, has not the Congolese tradition. The Tamboyuca tradition has not religious content, but the Congolese tradition is very religious, but the Tamboyuca is not, which is part of the Congolese tradition. And then what that meant is something that very many people don't know is like those drums that I'm going to show you here were one of the first drums ever played in the island of Cuba for that reason. Because since they were secular, anytime that they wanted to do a celebration or to ease work and things like that, then they would use those drums. And once again, which was one of the difference between what happened in Cuba and what happened in America. As you know, in America, they were not allowed to play the drums. Only New Orleans, Congo Square, once a week, whatever. But in Cuba, they were allowed to play the drums, and even more so after the Haitian Revolution. Because after the Haitian Revolution, actually, this is not, I should say it correctly, it's called Saint-Domingue Revolt. The reason why I say Saint-Domingue Revolt, because Haiti was not formed at the time. There was no Haiti, there was no Santo Domingo. Saint-Domingue was an island, that full island. And of course, when you read it, a lot of times it says Haitian Revolution, but it's not Haitian because it wasn't founded yet. Haiti as a nation. So it's called the Saint-Domingue Revolt. After that happened, many of the slave owners, they were got nervous because they thought oh, this could happen anytime, anywhere. So the only way to maybe ease a little bit of they made them feel a little bit happy is let them play the drums. Then play some music, and then they start allowing them to play a little bit more, and then just for them to get them, happy somewhat. So anyway, the tamboyuca is interesting. Tamboyuca is a drum that the name yuca. You know what a yuca is? It's in the Spanish fruit. It's like a fruit that was. You go to any Spanish restaurant, you're gonna have some yuca, or mojo. And then it's a brown fruit like this, and the tamboyuca just looks just like that. And the reason why this drum is so unique in a sense is because this is made out of avocado tree, and the reason why it's made out of avocado tree is because the tree itself, when the tree falls down and it gets old, then inside gets a little bit hollow. And then the inside part gets a little softer, so it's easy to extract the inside part and make the drum out of that. And then they will put a skin around it, and then they nail the skins around in the drums, and then they use fire to tune it. So different from the drums in Yoruban religion, they have a very sophisticated system to tune it, because they used to have this kind of rope that would like a net, almost like you have to move like a net, and then you have to tighten, and it's just complicated. And the same thing like older drums like Abacoa, for example, they have to use they're different drums, but they use different tuning system, more sophisticated than that. And also arara. Any tradition of Afro-Cuban tradition has a more sophisticated way of making the drums and tuning the drums. The tambor yuca was not. It's just the avocado tree, get the things out, it's already kind of softer a little bit, and then put a skin around it and tune it. So let me show you a video so you can see how the drums is tuned. And then, so what happened in the video, I'm asking, because this is my hometown, and I know these people. Normally when I go back there, I see them, I talk to them, I interview them. And then what he's telling me in the video, is in Spanish, what he's telling me is that he's tuning the drums, and then I was asking him, so how, he was explaining to me, oh, this is this drum, this is that one, this is this one. And I asked him, so how do you know? And he said, like, by the sound of it. And then he was telling me, this skin is from this type of animal, from a bull, and this is from a cow, and this is from, like, I was like, how do you know? It's like, well, because the sound of the drum, it tells you what kind of animal, skin animal they have. Yeah.
Bueno, acá tenemos ¿de lomo que la piel? La piel de los de buey, no es de la barriga. Así es de la barriga. ¿Y cómo usted sabe? Mira, mira el cuero este. Ese es fino. Este es más fino que ese. Este es cuero bueno. Este es cuero bueno. ¿Sabes que no puede sonar igual que este? Porque este no puede sonar igual. Claro.
Yeah, that's how they. Sorry. That's how they tune the. That's how they tune the drums. They use the fire, and then once the drums is ready, then this is what the music sounds like. what do you see on that video? What did you see on that video? What did you notice?
Communication,
Mm-hmm.
like a nonverbal kind of communication,
Uh-huh.
as well as the actual vocalizations.
Mm-hmm.
But communication that went on in the eyes and the bodies of
Mhm.
both the dancers and
Mhm.
musicians.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I was kind of thinking along similar lines. It kind of felt like music is like a sense of community for the people.
Big time. You know, these people are farmers. As you can see, these are their homes. And this is how this interesting thing about, you know, living in my hometown, even in Havana, you experience culture in the raw form. Basically, these are their homes, and this is what it was. Like, they just come from work. I think it was Sunday, the day that they were not work, and they come from all different places in town, but different places. Many come walking for hours. They just come on bicycles, come on horses, because they're farmers. And then they just go in, and then they start the same fire they use to tune the drums. They use that fire to cook. They make some, cook something, and then everything breaks into that. And they dance and play and drink, and it's, like I said, it's a non-secular, it's a secular form, it's not a religious form. However, the Congolese tradition is highly religious. And then when I talk to them, there's certain things that they would not tell me, even though I'm from the town. But because I'm not involved in the religion, so they're like, there's certain things that we cannot talk about. And so even though it's secular, but they have still that kind of respectful thing of way of thinking about the tradition and how they need to use a secret in order to survive, because that's what happened in this context. They have to rely on the secret and their inside communication things in order to survive, and that's part of the language. The language is a combination of Spanish and Congo and some kind of made-up words. It's in a way to deceive their owners in the time, so they can communicate. The same thing that happened with Yoruban tradition. Yoruban tradition, the whole system of saints was a way for them to be able to play and to celebrate their saint without being punished. Meaning, they have the whole system. I'm going to talk about it more in depth about Santeria, but they have a whole different of saints, right? They have a saint for everything, like from salt water, seawater, sweet water, lighting, like agriculture, hunting, health, anything that you can think of. And then, but they couldn't really call them by their name, but the African name, so they had to masquerade them using saint name. For example, whenever they wanted to play for Chango, which is the god for the fire, is a warrior, the thunder, fire, lightning, they wouldn't call it Chango, they call it Santa Barbara. But they knew, like, when their owner, they heard the word Santa Barbara, just because Santa is in Spanish word, Barbara is also a Spanish name. And they was like, oh, that's fine. They're worshiping our saints. But inside they knew that, no, we're doing Chango. Or Babaluaye, which is the Orisha, or the saint for disease. They would call it San Lazaro, and so on. So there are many different forms of Orisha. They all change their name. So, and that, once again, that was a survival mode. I'm gonna play something that is more in the context of religious in Congolese tradition, and this is more like in the form of a palo. Palo is a means stick, which is also what make Congolese religion unique, or any religion unique, is because their system, the organizational system in the drums is basically the same, and the language is also similar. Even though they have palo, kinfuiti, tambor yuca, palo, yuca, tambor makuta. These are all different forms within the Congolese Maurice tradition, but they all unify because they have the same religious system, and then they also, they have similar language, and the rhythms are a little bit different, but it has some similar essence. This one is palo, and palo does have a religious connotation. Jay, can I don't know, Isaac? Yeah, can I? Yeah? Hold on. Okay. And this is one of the forms of palo, okay? This is palo. Oh. It's not recognizing. A ver, maybe. Can you unplug it again? Yeah. I want to try my computer. Okay. Lube, 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 la cueva la banda tere, palo y ya pues bajo licencia todo el fume, bajo licencia. Licencia mi carunga güey, palo y ya pues esa güey, lube, 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 la cueva sarabanda, tere, palo y ya pues esa güey. Aquí pa' curar. So I'm gonna play another one so you can see. I'm gonna play. Let me see. Play this one. Okay. I don't have it here. So anyway, I'm just gonna leave it like on this one. Let's see. No, I don't have it on my computer. I have it on my phone. My phone's not working. Okay, but anyway, but that's the traditional palo. I can fast forward a little bit here and see.
Ganga, que horas son, awe. Ganga, míralo, Ganga, míralo, Ganga, que horas son, awe. Ganga, míralo, Ganga, míralo, Ganga, que horas son, awe. Ganga, míralo, Ganga, míralo, Ganga, que horas son, awe. Ganga, míralo, Ganga.
So demanding, like this, like normally I will see if I can find a video there. Normally, many other Afro-Cuban dances, you saw the tambor yuga dance, it's like more like a party, you dance if you want to, not, whatever. And then the Abaqua, in the Abaqua traditions, the only people who dances are the Iremes, or the people who are in the religion, in the particular part of the religion. People normally don't dance it, you're there, but you don't really dance. In Santeria, you dance, but it's only intense at a certain point in the dance, and you will see it in the video. When a section of the dance is called the meta, which is when supposedly the Orisha is furious. Let's say you're talking about Yemaya, which is the deity of the sea, of the ocean. And as you know, the ocean can be very beautiful, but it can be very, very intense. So the music has that kind of fluctuation, like it goes from very peaceful to very intense. And then, but in Paro, you start intense from the very beginning all the way to the end. And then also the expressions, they all often like very mad, very like, because and then the dance is always tapping on the ground. It's all because they're in Santeria, the deities are in the sky, so the dancers are often like looking up and doing this gesture. But in Congolese tradition, the deities or their spirits are in the ground. So they constantly step in the ground and really very strong dance. Like they really, you see them like, it's funny when I see them dance, it feels like, they like end like really out of breath because it's like that intense. And normally a lot of times they close the show with something like this because they put it at the beginning, they done. So any questions to this point so I can move on? Okay. So we're gonna move on to Santeria because in Santeria, since we've been talking about Santeria once again is different. Is something that is the most popular form of music, of religious music in Cuba. And I would say in many areas, maybe had to do because many of the people who came were from Nigeria. Santeria came from Nigeria. And you have forms of Santeria, of course, with different names. In Cuba, it's called Santeria. In Haiti, they call it voodoo. That's voodoo. And then in Brazil, they call it candomblé. There's many different forms of that. But it's the same, came from the same people. It just took a different form in different countries. The reason why it took different forms, once again, they have to reinvent it from memory and from scratch, basically. They had to reinvent the way they practice, they had to reinvent the way they play it, they had to even reinvent the drums. Like the instrumentation that you see in America, in any station in America is different than the one that was in Africa, because of course they have to do whatever they need to do to survive and to keep the tradition going. So, as I mentioned before, Santeria has like a composition of many different types of saints and many different types of orishas, and every orisha has a very specific role in life. It's almost like Greek mythology when you have the god of this, the god of that, for everything. And it's a very, this religion, different from Congolese, is very open. You don't have to necessarily be in a religion to be able to practice, to go to a ceremony. Like if you go to Cuba, you go to Havana, or any other matanzas, and if you go, you hear the drums, and then you see, oh, there's a religious ceremony in the house. You're welcome to go in and to participate. They will ask you to sing. They even give you food. Like it's really very open religion, and it's very beautiful. I'm gonna play a video of that. So, and this is gonna be Yemaya. Something happening here, I don't know how to do that here. And this is Shemaya. First, let me play for you the how the drums are played. They have 3 different drums. Once again, in any religious, one of the things that we inherited from Africa, which sometimes we don't really realize, is the system. It's an organizational system, even in music. Like sometimes in jazz we call it rhythm section, but sometimes people don't even know why it's called rhythm section. They call rhythm section, and then they just reduce it to piano-based drum and guitar, whatever. But the functionality of drums is of the functionality of the instruments in the session. That's what is lost in translation. In traditional African music, you have three main drums. In terms of pitches, one is high, one is low, one is in the middle, right? So in ancient African system, the lowest drum were the one who communicated with the God. It was the one who improvised. Of course, they didn't call it improvise because it was more like talking, right? While the highest drum was the one who kept the tempo, like their job was to keep the tempo on, almost like a click, if you function. And then the middle drum is the one to create the communication. It kind of responds to the lowest drum. It creates the dialogue, right? And then you see in jazz, for example, I'm not going to say anything. We're going to ask that question to that. But that's the organization of African music. You see it on palo. You saw it on tambour yuga. The lowest one is the one who improvises, the one kind of like improvises what the highest and the middle drums are keeping something there. You're gonna see it now in the Yoruba tradition. I'm gonna show you. You're gonna see a video where you can see the 3 drums and you can see who's doing what. Okay, that was before. I'm gonna show you the dance. I just wanna show you first the drumming aspect of it. Ya y todavía lo pongo en el intro de drums. So that's how the music is played. That's how, and what they did there is called something called auto seco, which is like they went through several of their saints. Every saint has a particular rhythm, a particular dance. The one that I'm gonna play right now is Jemaya, which is the saint for the sea, for the ocean. And what you can see is in her dance is the representation of the ocean. And then there's a part that the ocean gets really mad, and you see that also in the dance and in the music. And let's see.
Yemaya, ya mío lobo, hago yo.
the first, I'm sorry to stop it, but the first orisha that you're gonna see is called Elequa. The reason why it's Elequa, the one dressed in red and black. Oh, by the way, yeah, every orisha has a color, a combination of colors. Yemaya is blue because the orisha is blue and white. And then Elequa, which is the first orisha in the whole system, is the orisha that holds the key where supposedly all the deities lives on the sky, on the whatever dimension. And the reason why the first orisha you see coming out is Elequa is because it's the one who holds the key, and if it doesn't come out first, then nobody can come out because he needs to open it. And it's the first one that they play in the ceremony and the last one, because it's supposed to ceremony, at the end of the ceremony, everybody had to go back into their home, and then he had to lock the door again for the orishas to be. So that's the reason why I'm saying this, because I'm talking about Yemaya, which is the dress is gonna be blue, and then you're gonna see another one, which is dancing first, which is in black and red, so that you know that's Elequa, the one who's gonna be supposedly open the door so Yemaya can come out. So, yeah, that's what Santeria is basically. And now, imagine there's like a set of 26 or 27 orishas, and they all have their own particular dance, their own particular costume, their own particular rhythm, their own particular everything. And they all go through that way of like being like normal, and then they all have like this, it's called meta, which is like very strong dance, part of the dance that represents a different stage of that orisha per se. You guys have any questions, observations? No? Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is like on that. I mean, I don't know, the time is flying a little bit. This manifestation of music is present in pretty much throughout the Caribbean. Like, you know, once again, because they brought the same people from the same region, and they spread all around the Caribbean. So you have, if you go to Puerto Rico, then they have something similar, in a sense. They have something called, like, for example, bomba, and then they also have plenas. But the bomba is the one that, and it happens all like this, right? Like normally they bring all these people, they reinvent their traditions in whatever land there is, and then that tradition get mixed with other things. And that's in that mixtures when you, for example, in Cuba they had, you know, the birth of the danzón, the son, the guarachas, the mambos, and all these things that are more like in the popular side. Another thing that came out of the popular side of that, it was the rumbas, the guaguancó, the yacú, and the columbia, which I'm going to mention a little bit. And in Puerto Rico, for example, the bomba was like the most raw form, in a sense, heavy in Congolese traditions, but then get mixed, and then you see then an appearance of the plena, which is more like it's a combination of many different things. The same thing in Brazil, you have the candomblé, but then you have the bossa nova, and then you have the samba, and then you have the choros, you know. And then you go to Haiti, once again you have the same thing. In Haiti, what we call Santeria, they call it voodoo, and then what we call arara, they call it rada. And then the Congo is the Congo. Congo is still it's the same as the Congo. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Never mind. And that's the manifestation on the Afro Caribbean diaspora. I can play a little bit of a video, like one of the videos, and what they get those videos. Some of the videos I take it myself. Like I normally do research myself because I like to also integrate it into my music, and then I'm gonna play a video. I'm going to play two videos. I'm going to play one that is in Matanzas for this particular tradition called Ganga, which is a tradition. You guys know the story of Cinque, Joseph Cinque? You seen the movie Spielberg Amistad? Well, that's about him. It's about Joseph Cinque. Cinque was a guy who was brought And the thing that interests me about the story of Joseph Sinke was because it ties Africa to Cuba to America. Because Joseph was captured in Africa at the time, by the way, when the treaty was already signed and there was an agreement, like, okay, no more transatlantic thing. And this slavery was still, they were still fine. If you own somebody, they're fine with that. But you can no longer go and get somebody, bring it to America. That's it. That business was done. But even though when that was after the U.S. and the Great Britain signed that treaty, that they were, patrolling the oceans, making sure nobody was doing that. Still, there's a lot of people from Portugal that was still bringing people back to America. The reason why, because, that was the economy at the time. Like a lot of people who bought a lot of people to work on the sugar plantation and tobacco plantation, and then in a way, they couldn't afford not to do it because they already have all this land and all this product, and they still need labor. So then they pay people to continue bringing people illegally to Cuba, and that Sinke was one of those people. Sinke was brought illegally. They brought him to Cuba. Then they sold him in Cuba. And then after they were transporting him to the destination where he was going to be serving as a slave, he revolted over the ship. Then he revolted over the ship, and then he ordered the ship to go bring me back to Africa. And then they say, okay, we bring you back to Africa. But at night, they just went north instead of going, east. And then they went north, and then he was recaptured again in America, in Connecticut. And then that was the whole drama that you saw on this paper. Like, they were brought into America, and then there was like this big lengthy trial. And then he finally got his freedom, because there was already at the time there's a lot of abolitionists in America that were like defending him, and then he finally got his freedom. But during that time, that's and that's basically, I want to play something that I'm just gonna go back. I want to play something from a video from this woman that I interviewed in Matanzas, telling me, which for me was like amazing, like singing me the song that they used to sing in Africa to Africans who were captured and brought to America. And it was a song that they sang, like saying the final goodbye. And it was, to me, it was very, very beautiful. Let me see if I can, hopefully it's in here. Let's see. Let's see. Oh yeah, let me see. And this. Okay, yeah, let's see here.
Entonces hay una tradición que yo tenía que dice que cuando emigrando para acá de África, emigrando para acá, ellos, los africanos, lo despidieron con un canto diciéndole que van a evacuar. Se van para. Entonces hay una tradición que yo tenía que dice que cuando ellos venían de África, emigrando para acá, ellos, los africanos, lo despidieron con un canto diciéndole que van a evacuar, se van para otro país, esclavos, los esclavos. Yo, sorry. Yo imangria.
I can play from up here. Are you happy to do?
Ange. Tradición que yo tenía, que dice que cuando ellos venían de África, emigrando para acá, ellos, los africanos, lo despidieron con un canto diciéndole que van a evacuarse, van para otro país, el esclavo, los esclavos. Yo vaco se va, yo imangriyange, yo itamuyange, yo vaco se va,
Yeah. So you see, like that was one of the song that when I was doing my research, I found, and it was just like to me amazing. Like and these two ladies, I think they already passed because I mean when I interviewed them, that was in 1991, I think, something like that, and then they were already like 90 and 91. So, but they were the only survivors of these traditions called ganga, which is at the time there was not a lot of knowledge about that in Cuba even. I think now they know a little bit more because there was like a thing, like they realized that, oh my God, these two ladies are gonna pass, and then nobody can tell about this tradition. As a matter of fact, they have a book. They have a book, like they have written in the book all the words and the languages and things like the songs, because they were afraid that, you know, when we pass, this is gonna be gone. And I was trying to get the book back, right? But you know, that was an amazing experience for me. And all of these things happens throughout, you know, throughout the Caribbean, in Puerto Rico, in Brazil, in Brazil is not Caribbean, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Jamaica, Santo Domingo, all these places. So there's a lot of richness on that. So, and then just as a final thought, what I do with this information, because that's normally, like the reason why what I research is because that informs my music. That's what I use in my music, in the vocabulary of my music, which could be in many different shapes or forms. This, for example, a piece, I'll play a little bit of a piece that is called Yo Soy Lorio Va. Lorio Va is a term that they use for a drum, for specific drums in the Arara tradition. Arara tradition is from Matanzas, from the region of Matanzas, mainly in Matanzas. And this is how I find out about this lady, because I went to Matanzas to study the Arara, and then they told me about these ladies, and then I went to their town, and then I got to interview them. And Loriba means a drum with a larger responsibility. And then Arara has a very specific rhythmic pattern. Every tradition has a very specific rhythmic pattern. And in Arara, they have this clapping, hand clapping pattern that goes like this. Can you clap with me? Keep doing that. program as a guitarist, so there was only like two choices, and percussion was one of them. And then since I grew up listening to this tambor yuca thing, right? I thought like, oh, percussion. And I said it without even realizing because it's like, it was in my mind. And I said, well, percussion. And then I went percussion, but then actually my education was mainly in classical music. It wasn't this type of drumming. And then I was doing classical percussion, and then as a classical percussionist, I had to study piano. So then I had to start taking piano lessons as part of the program, and that's how I started playing piano a little bit. But when I started, I didn't really make much of it. I still was thinking of it as a guitarist. But then whenever there was like a jam session at school, most of the instruments were taken, most of the percussion instruments were taken. The only thing that was untouched was the piano, because nobody knew how to really play like bam, like jamming the piano. And then I wanted to do something, so I started sitting at the piano and doing whatever. And then whatever I did, I don't even remember anymore, but whatever I did, it seems like they liked it. And then they started asking me to, hey, will you come play piano for us in this jam? And then that's when I realized, okay, well, if I want to be playing the piano, I want to know what I'm doing. I don't want to just go there and just, and then that's how I started taking piano seriously. I started to practice more, started asking questions about piano technique and music and stuff, and then that's how eventually I evolved into being a pianist. But then when I evolved into a pianist, I was doing that, but I wasn't seeing myself as a jazz at all. I like rock and roll too much. So I was doing rock and roll, I was joining a band as a rock and roller. I started, doing a bunch of stuff with them. I toured, chair stayed with Pink Floyd, Kool and the Gang. And then, but there was a point that somebody got me a ticket to go to a jazz festival, and I went to a jazz festival, and I saw saxophonist Richie Cole, and that did it. I saw him as my home jazz. Yeah, that's what I wanted to play, and then that's how I got into jazz. Yeah, it's a long way, but it was. Say again?
Alto Madness?
Yeah, yeah. You know? Nice. Yeah, nobody many people know. Yeah, it's interesting. I was yesterday talking to the Latin jazz group here, and they didn't know about Richie Cole. Interesting. So yeah, that performance was amazing.
Where was it, in New Orleans?
I was in Havana.
Okay.
I was still in Cuba. And I still remember it vividly in my mind. Like it was crazy, like totally freedom. Which in Cuba at the time everything was kind of like, well, still very controlled by the government, very and these people were playing jazz and blues and just like doing all kinds of crazy things. The pianist was like come from the classical music that you have to be like. The piano was like leg on the floor. And I was like, I want to do that, Yeah, and then that was that. Yeah.
Well, there's such a rich tradition of pianists in Cuba as well.
Yeah.
There's a whole legacy there.
Yeah, that's true. But before then, like I said, that wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew Chucho and Gonzalo, and I didn't even know much about the older generation before that. I didn't know anything because once again I was in classical music. You have to understand, in Cuba at the time, that was the time when Russia was in Cuba, like before the perestroika. So half of my teachers were Russians, and it was heavily Russian classical music. It was almost like studying at Tchaikovsky Conservatory in Russia, like, but in Cuba. Anything. I remember, like, if I do something like, it should be like, what are you doing? You're gonna get the piano out of tune. They would tell me. open to teach them. And they needed the money. And then they were like, yeah, and then who they call? Call me like, hey, would you mind teaching them? It's like, okay. And then that's how I became in a good term with them. But if they wanted to be with us, sorry. Yeah. Any other questions?
I kind of come from, I study classical guitar here, and I also like really like jazz music, but sometimes I kind of have a hard time kind of getting that, like we were talking earlier, like freedom. Like, how would you approach it, like from improvising standpoint, like just in general, kind of your process?
That's a very great question.
I just want you to have time to take a break before the 2 o'clock session.
Oh, what time is it?
Yeah, it's about 1:15, so we got about 45
Oh, yeah,
minutes.
let me ask this question and then we're done. Thank you. So that's a very, very great question. Because I mean, it's different from everyone. Man, I have to think about how to answer that. Because, you know, like for me, the freedom in jazz, which is like to me the biggest contribution that jazz has ever made to humanity. Because any other genre that you have, you know, you still improvise and do things, whatever, but you improvise within a particular norms. And in jazz, you can basically reinvent yourself. I mean, of course, there's a thing of vocabulary. That's a whole different thing. Like, you're talking about bebop, you're talking about like hard bop and things like that. There's certain thing about vocabulary that, of course, you want to be playing in a particular style. Then it's not so much freedom because you have to learn all the vocabulary like any other thing. But if you were to just improvise, like do, that's fine. Freedom is exactly that. You can do as you please. And then just let yourself be in a world where there's no limitations, artistic limitations that is. You know, where consonants and dissonance can just can live together, there's no where low raised high middle raised and high raised has the same relevance than just one or the other, you know, versus you know, like in African music, like the lowest drum is always the one's going to improvise. You're not going to have the highest drum improvising. And we were talking about earlier about the rhythm section, the difference between the rhythm section in Afro Diaspora and the rhythm section in jazz, even though they're both rhythm sections in the Afro Diaspora, the low drum has a specific role, which is like improvise. The high drum is the one to keep the click going, and the middle drum is the one to kind of establish the dialogue. In jazz, it's the other way around. The lowest drum, it's not that it's not the low, it's not the other way around. It's like it doesn't have the roles, they're not established that way. In jazz, for example, thinking about it, what would be you guys know about jazz, right? Sure. So if you're thinking about like a piano trio, what would be the equivalent for the highest pitch drum to keep the click? What instrument would be on a trio settings?
Drum? Hi-hat?
Would be bass. The bass in jazz is the one, even though people tend to feel like bass is lowest, and maybe, no, bass would be the one to keep the click. The piano would be the ija, which is the one improvising, bring the melodies and things like that, and the drummer will be the middle drum. Function of the middle drum is the one to connect those two. Bass is keeping that, the drums interact with the piano's improvising, right? That's the basic. But the one thing about jazz is like all those roles changes because the bass is taking a solo, then he's no longer the highest drum. Now it's the one doing the improvisation. So now I have the choice to either become the highest pitched drum like the role changes in jazz, and this is one of the biggest, to me, the biggest contribution of this music is just like how you can really make it, and you have a lot of ways to express yourself in many different ways. But but of course, once again, when it comes to a specific tradition, then you have to know vocabulary, and that's freedom is not there. I mean, you have to really know.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really good.
So come on back at 2 o'clock. We'll have a